Neal Mitchell.
Hello everyone, this is Neal Mitchell with PlanetHoax.com, where truth and conspiracies collide. I have with me tonight Dr. No. Say hello everybody, Dr. No.
Hello.
Tonight I have a little special cast, and I'm only going to do this once in my life, and I hope I get it right. And we all know of the outcome that went on up in Oregon this past week or so, from the 26th on anyway, of Robert Lavoy Finicum being gunned down. We've seen the videos. We've seen what's been going on with that. And I want to remind some people of some things about this country that we all hold quite dear. All right? Now, it's our liberty, our justice, and our way of life, our American way of life. And it is absolutely under assault, and everybody knows that. So why are we being so PC and politically correct over it, Dr. No?
I have no clue.
You have no clue. Now, you're a clinical psychologist, correct?
Yes.
And you even don't have a clue of what's going on with the mindset of the government, do you?
None.
I think they're playing games with us, and I think they're trying to push us to an evil means and an evil end to what I see going on. And I'm going to spout that off until hell freezes over. But anyway, I'd like to remind everybody of what our securities and what our freedoms are all about. And I've asked Dr. No to help me out tonight. And what we're going to do is this. Every time I read something that is exactly corresponding to what exactly is going on today in our society, what we're dealing with and what we're going through, I'm going to have Dr. No ring a bell. Ring the bell there, Dr. No. There you go. Y'all can hear that, I hope. So every time you hear that bell ring, there you go. It's to signify that we're still going through what we went through then. Does that make sense to you?
I think so.
Oh, I think it makes sense to me too. And you know, he's gonna hear what's going on if he don't forget to ring the bell at certain times. It should be pretty obvious. If you think of the word Obama and the current government we have, every time you hear the bell, just remember this, okay? Now, I'm going to forward y'all through to what it is that I hold quite dear, and all of us out there should hold quite dear, and what this is all about that I'm knocking down now. But I won't worry about that right now. I will never let these colors run. All right, now anyway, let me bring this up here, all right, so you can see it, and then we're going to start our cast for tonight. Now, what is it here that y'all see that you have not recognized before in y'all's existence as citizens of the United States? Is this something that y'all have seen before? Or if you haven't seen it before, do you know what this is? This is our Declaration of Independence. It was ratified in Congress July 4th, 1776. Isn't that correct, Dr. No?
Yes.
Yes, and the whole thing about this is that it doesn't matter if it was 200 years ago plus or 200 years from now. This declaration is our blood money for what we've gained as a country, for our freedoms, our independence, and our sovereignty as Americans here, okay? Bar none. And that's including us Texans. Though we have our own sovereignty also. A lot of people don't realize that us Texans have dual citizenship. They don't realize that. Californians have dual citizenship. Sometimes I think they have triple citizenship. I think they think they belong to Mexico, the Republic of California, and the United States. But that's another show in itself. Anyway, I'm going to read this. If y'all have never read it before or understood what it says, parts of it you probably remember. And I'm going to read it out. So let's go from here. And I want to apologize before I start from my last show. I dropped my camera feed here off that you see. And on my last show. And when I did, it lost audio. I did not know that until later on down the road. I kept trying to figure, why don't I have audio? But I finally figured it out and went, oh my, I thought it was something else that happened. But let me explain something to you before we go any farther than that. All right, let me just raise this up. You see that, folks? What's that? That's the reality of what we're facing today in America. All right, some more of that. Here, not somewhere else, but here. And we have to thank for the goons in Washington for a lot of that happening. And that's our lawmakers that have been playing off your back, okay, with all the money. All right, I'm going to start reading this off to y'all. And I'm not going to worry about it. Just listen to me, all right? Declaration of Independence, okay? In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous Declaration of the 13th United States of America, all right? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands for which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the law of nature and the nature of God's entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Now, that's a pretty bold statement for a bunch of people that were being held pretty much hostage by a tyrannical king.
Yes.
Don't you think so, Dr. No?
Absolutely.
And who do we have right now that kind of reminds you of?
Who could guess?
Who could guess? Can we have a ring there, Dr. No? Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governor. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, with dictate and governments long shall, where'd I go? I done lost my place. Shall establish should not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly to all experiences hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, that to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Right? There you go. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariable the same object, evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. There you go. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and not provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferances of these colonies, and is such now the necessity to which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, and the wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. There you go. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the rights of representation in the legislature, the right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has done that. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within, especially here in Texas. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purpose of obstructing the laws for the naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of a new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenature of their offices and amount to the payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices. We've seen plenty of those. Lots more than we ever needed. And has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in time of peace standing armies without consent to the legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil powers. He has obtained with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, namely NATO and the United Nations, and unacknowledgeable to by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment from any murderers which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. I think there's a refuge involved that could be said of this at the moment. I think there was a Ruby Ridge that could be said of it. Maybe Waco. The list can go on, folks. For cutting off our trade with other parts of the world. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. For depriving us, in many cases, the benefit of trial by jury. We've seen that. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. And that has happened. For abolishing a free system of English laws in the neighboring province, establishing herein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so to render it at once all an example and fit instrument for inducing the same absolute rules on these colonies. In other words, foreign power rules. For taking away our charters, that's happened. For abolishing the most valuable laws, altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspending our own legislatures, declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has advocated, that's a good word for me, that's a new one. It's an old one too. Advocated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, destroyed our lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death. And we've heard these stories about these mercenaries and refuge not too long ago. Dissolution and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty, perfidy, scarcely paralleled in most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, and to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and we're seeing that going right now. We're seeing that going right now. And he has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguishable destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. And I would like to pull this off and say the merciless caliphate instead of the savage Indians in this, because that's what we see coming, the caliphate. All right, let's move on. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned the readiness in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. I believe that's the reasoning why the refuge was manned, and the reason why what happened at the Bundy Ranch. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act by which may define a tyrant is unfit to rule a free people. At every stage of these oppressions, we have I've already read that. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would invariably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiescent in the necessity which denounces our separation, hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appeal to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states, and that they are absolved of all allegiances to the British Crown and all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain, and is ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts in things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we must mutually pledge to each of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And there's 56 signatures there. How many of them do you think died and hung during this war of independence?
I don't know the exact number, but a lot of them died, a lot of them by hanging, a lot of them died penniless and literally gave up their lives and their fortunes.
And a lot of them died holding their hands up and surrendered, and they were shot and gunned down. And I saw this happen on January 26th. Just to let y'all know. Anyway, if that doesn't mean a lot to y'all, I don't know what does at this point. Dr. No, do you have anything to say so far?
Having listened to the Declaration of Independence there, it almost sounds like a newscast from a day or two ago.
It sure
does. 2 centuries ago. Yeah,
it sounds like every constitutionalist prepper out there being upset and worrying about our grievances.
Doesn't sound like 2.5 centuries. It sounds like film at 11.
It sounds like film at 11 right now. Now, what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What can I do about it? I can do no more about it than y'all can. If y'all don't rise up and say, hey, we need to stop this. We can do it peacefully, too. They tried to do it at a refuge, I believe. I really do believe they tried to do it peacefully. It ended more or less peacefully after the little problem. But I think they were just showing their strong arm like they allowed Janet Reno do at Waco. I think it's derelict in the duty of their constitutional oath to do what they did. Absolutely. They rose up arms against our citizens. And that is an absolute no-no in my book. How about you, Dr. No-No? Dr. No-No says the same thing. All right. Anyway, I just said my piece, and that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I don't really have much more to talk about, but because I'm still trying to figure out what I need to do next. But I digress. I mean, there's things that you can always do to make things better in this world, okay? And one is stand up for your rights. Second one is be a man or woman about it. And help those along next to you, understand it. So I'm asking anybody within earshot of me in this broadcast, spill it out. Throw it around everywhere. Read the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence yourself, and read our constitutional laws. Understand our laws. Don't willy-nilly walk around life and play with your video games and worry about what's that woman's name at the Super Bowl that danced around?
Oh, Beyonce.
Yeah, Beyonce. Oh, man, that's just... Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I don't have anything really nice to say about that, so I'll leave it at that. Well, I've really got to talk now. I'm sorry, you got to. That was the most nasty... I mean, that was nasty. I thought when... was it Janet Jackson? Mm-hmm. Was that her at the Super Bowl when they had the wardrobe malfunction?
Yes.
If you look up Janet Jackson Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, you'll see that she's got these pasty like star things stuck on there. With it's a skewed. What do you call that when they do that? Piercing. It's pierced. They're pierced. I mean, my God, that's bad enough. If you look at it real close, it's a sun. And if you notice, it's all Illuminati stuff. All this stuff is Illuminati. People say, oh my God, here he goes talking about Illuminati. Oh my God, oh my God. Seriously, folks, did you not watch Super Bowl? I mean, really, come on. Look at the dance. Look what's going on. It's absolute decadence. It was all Illuminati, all that stupid crap. Okay, that I think they're just making this up at this point. I really do think it's all they're wannabes or something. I don't know. It's Hollywood is feeding this ignorance. Okay, and that's part of a problem we've got in America, and we all need to stand up and start doing something here as tried true American, red blooded and apple pie and Chevrolet and all that good stuff. How's that old song go? It's been so long ago since Anyway, I digress, and I will say this much one last time: it's your country, folks. Let's take it back. That's all I got to say. Let's take it back. Let's get rid of these crazy people, man, running the show, okay? I mean, the inmates are running the asylum, don't you think? Let's put them back in prison where they belong. That's all I got to say. And this wacko stuff going on with the Republican and Democrat primary things, my God, I could talk for days of how, it's a circus. It used to be people stand up at a podium and they would be presentable, and they would, they're still standing up against the podium, but they might as well just be laying up against it and spitting chewing tobacco and talking crap to each other. It just insults. Look like Jerry Springer on acid. Some of it, back and forth, bicker, picker. I don't want to know that. I don't want to vote for any of that. Do y'all? Are y'all so? It's entertainment. Rednecks for paychecks attitude about stuff. I don't know. I don't get it. Why are you doing this? It's your damn livelihood for your children at stake here, and what's left of your old age. Do something about it. Let's make it right, America. Okay? It's getting getting bad. Don't you figure that? I'm tired of it. Aren't you tired of it? I'm tired of it. Something needs to be done. And they say that the pen is mightier than the sword. Okay. Tell that to the people that wrote the Declaration. They wrote that. They wrote the Declaration. They wrote it. They wrote this Declaration right here. This Declaration for the purpose of freeing themselves. And guess what happened after the last stroke of that pen? What happened? A lot of blood was spilt. A lot of blood. You want to know what the 3%ers are? That 3% that fought for the whole entire colonies. Of all the population, only 3% of the population fought the British off. Just 3%. Now, I'm going to tell you what. These guys, they had hardly anything. They were lucky they were really lucky. Lucky. If England was closer and not overseas, we'd never be free today. We'd never be free. Thank your lucky stars on that. And thank you, lucky stars, we ain't speaking German or, Japanese right now. Where's it going to end, folks? Are we going to start, talking Arabic next? This is the reality of what we're looking at. Wake the hell up. Smell your coffee. I got mine right here. If y'all can't figure it out, I've done figured it out. Y'all may go to hell, but I'm going to stay right here in Texas, and I'm going to make sure things are right for my state. You got your own state. Take care of it. Let's kick these crazy people out, and let's get our United States back to where it was. Let's get it back. All right? Let's just get it back. And that's what you need to do. You just need to get it back. Dr. No, do you have anything to say before the end of the broadcast tonight? All you do is just ring a bell.
If we don't hang together, we will surely hang separately.
That's right, Mr. Franklin. That's exactly right. You heard that, folks. And at that, I'm going to say adieu, good night. And just remember one thing. There's a war going on to enslave you. And this complete asinine attitude that you, the American people right now, are allowed to have happen by the powers to be who have hijacked, absolutely freaking hijacked and put a gun to the head of our government and is running the show. Who are these people? Why are you letting it happen? Let's stand up, America. Let's stand up. Stand up. Thanks for watching PlanetHoax.com. Subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and Facebook. And remember, there is a war going on to enslave you.